Good evening, seekers of truth and arcane knowledge. Welcome to Papa's Place. We will be discussing overall theories, premise and principle for those theories, truth and observation, and then draw our own conclusions. So take a journey with me. I am your host, Papa Magh, and today we will be discussing how we are possibly worshipping corporations. Excuse me while I enjoy some of my American spirit. It's no surprise if you live in America these days that you are aware of the level of intricacy that corporations have on just about every facet of American life. While in meditation the other day, some scary conclusions came to me. While we like to joke around about this idea of corporate worship, some of the observations that I'm going to present to you today will hopefully be a little bit more of an eye-opener and make you aware of the possibility that corporate America is siphoning from your spirit body. Let's discuss this. I've heard it said that time and attention are better than lamb's blood. If we look back at the story of Cain and Abel, we find that Yahweh favored Abel's sacrifice over the blood sacrifice of Cain. Likewise, in the American Plains, the Great Spirit was said to enjoy worship of song and dance more so than of blood. A lot of the indigenous cultures that did primarily honor the gods through blood sacrifice don't really have a whole lot of place nowadays. You know, there's remnants of them, and there's a few tribes here and there that do still practice cannibalism, but for the most part you don't really see it anymore. Side note, we are not talking about the draconian conspiracy on this video. That is for later use. And we're back. So if time and attention is really what the gods prefer, and they want us to spend time with them, that would mean that your intent, your thoughts, where you spend your time, what you spend your time doing, all those things matter to the spirit body. There's also something to be said with the power of will, the power of intent, the power of setting your mind to something. If you have it set in your mind that you have to go to work for 40 hours a week, and you have to be there, and you have to do your best, and you have to that's setting an intent for your life path. Not only that, but be aware that this is also mental conditioning. You know, they want you to give more than 100%. Can you? Can you give 100%? Should you give 100%? One of my favorite things that I've learned on my spirit journey has been this saying that you can't pour from an empty cup. Because I'll be damned if it isn't true. When you have nothing left to give, and you've given all of yourself, then you have sacrificed yourself for those that you gave to. So while we may think that a little bit of time here and there, a little bit of effort here and there, you know, so that we have a good life, good financial stability, foothold for life, is your life really worth money? I mean, we have life insurance policies, and we definitely have that price tag that will do. You know that guy at the party that'll do anything for $1? Yeah, it was me. Putting that type of intent and that level of effort into something that trades your life force for money just seems unhealthy. You know, if you come home and you got nothing left because you had such a hard day at work, you have no time left and no energy left and no desire left to do the things that you want to do, the things that you love to do, the things that mean most to your heart. If that is how your day ends, your work day ends, I'm here to tell you that you're spending too much time, too much effort, and too much energy into your work. Don't get me wrong, some people love to work. I myself am one of those people that the things that I do that involve my work are also my hobby and also the things that make me happy. I like doing production. I like being in front of the cameras. I like doing camera work. I like playing with lights and sound and all that stuff. That's my forte. That's what I like doing. So I am often told that, like, hey, you're being a workaholic. You need to slow it down. You need to... Am I being a workaholic, or am I just enjoying what I'm doing? When you invest in yourself, and you invest in your skill set, and you invest in your capabilities, you will never not have a job. So, what I mean by you never not have a job is you will never not have a skill set that is applicable in the things that you love to do. And we're back. Before we get into the premise and principle section of this, since we are just doing the truth and observation right here, it has already been proven through previous works, there are many people, that esoteric symbolism, ancient symbolism, runic symbols, have been spotted in large corporate logos. Their use of marketing, their use of color coordination, their use of the setups in their restaurants or in their businesses, their brick and mortar, is designed to alter your state of mind into buying more, eating more, or whatever their intent for you is. Billions and billions of dollars are spent every year to map out stores, to see what colors make you hungry, to test products, to test groups, and again, it's all designed to manipulate you. Think about this for a second. A corporation can span over several countries. So a centrally located or centrally operated business, so in other words, a business that can run from a tower in New York, that can place orders and to people that are outside of the boundaries of not only New York State, but the world. Okay? Keep that in mind while we discuss this. Some of these corporations have more money than some small governments. Some of these corporations have more employees than some small countries. A couple of years ago, a friend came to me, Anthony the Beard, if you're familiar with our programming on the other channel, and he said, I don't wear logos anymore because I'm not a billboard. And that resonated with me because, yeah, why am I going to advertise your company for free when But to take that a little bit deeper, when they sold slaves, they would brand the slaves like cattle. They still brand cattle, by the way. What do you think you're doing when you're walking around with Nike, Adidas, or, any logo on you? You're branded. You're branded. You're a slave to their style. You're a slave to their lifestyle. You're a slave to their new products. The things that they require of you to work at a corporation are insane. If time and attention is better than lamb's blood, then think about, why are you selling the best 40 hours of your week to an entity, to another entity? When I say the best 40 hours of your week, mind you, what I'm speaking of is the fact that the peak time of your day, when you are the most awake, when you are the most alert, when you are the most likely to get things done, and most likely to be in the zone to do stuff, they want you at work. And you get 2 days back at home to do everything else in your life. Does that sound fair? Does it sound fair when CEOs are out golfing? making plans on their golf carts and not even in the office. I understand how business runs. I understand how corporations work. The higher up you are in a company, the more your job is to think about the future. So the bottom line worker or bottom tier worker is thinking about the things that are right in front of them, and they get that, keep that maintenance and keep going. Their supervisor does the schedule for that person to make sure that there's days that product gets covered and that orders get filled. And then there's usually a regional supervisor or a coordinator from there who makes sure that the managers are keeping everybody happy, working within the law. And when you start getting up from there, the more the job becomes a little more abstract, and they're thinking about marketing strategies to keep money flowing in ahead of the work orders. Let's move on to premise and principle of what I'm talking about here with corporate worship. Time and attention is better than lamb's blood. So you're giving your best 40 hours a week to a company that would just as soon throw you away because they're judging you on how much you are bringing to the table. So not only are you bringing your best 40 hours a week, that's not enough for them. Okay? They want you to be bringing your best 40 hours a week, plus any talents you have, any abilities that you have, your skill set, your personality. You are your representative while you're there. You're representing the company. Even the attire. If you wear a logo on your shirt, it's usually either over your heart, or they put their name tag over your heart, and they have a logo on the other side. So you're branded by a company while you're there. You're forced to be branded by the company while you're there, so that people who observe you recognize that you are part of the company. You need time to recuperate. If you are afraid to take your PTO because you think the company's going to look down on you, or you think that you're going to lose something else, or that someone's going to come in and snake your job out from under you, then the mindset that they have you in is that of taking. Not only have they conditioned your thought process already, but they've enslaved your thought process. They don't even have to ask any more of you because you already give your all. And you know what happens when you burn out? There's somebody right behind you. Your time on this earth is the most valuable thing you'll ever have, and I promise you that. So while finances and money are necessary to live in the material realm that we call reality, the shared reality that we call Earth, your time currency is extremely valuable. So please consider your health, your mental well-being, and the people around you when you start pouring excess amounts of time currency to pull a moderate amount of financial currency. So, let's put it together, shall we? I feel so stoic. In conclusion, the entities that I am talking about in question right here for this corporate worship entity section are large megalithic companies that are publicly traded. Here's my concern with that particular set of conditions. Generally, publicly traded companies are operated by a board of directors. So while back in the day, Henry Ford of the Dodge Brothers, or Benjamin Franklin with GE, they ran their business. There was somebody with a soul, a cognitive, moral soul, that ran the business and looked out for things that happened in the general span and operations of the business. When your business is publicly traded, then the board of directors are actually obliged by law to behave in a certain way and to vote within certain parameters that are designed to benefit the shareholders. Legally, I'm not joking, look it up. So they're not making choices and decisions for this megalithic entity that spans different countries, that has all this money, all this political sway, all these people that work for them. They're not concerned about making decisions for their employees. They're not concerned about making decisions for their consumer. They're concerned more money in the pockets of the stockholders. That is how publicly traded companies typically work. It is my personal belief from here that some of these megalithic corporations that have esoteric, cultist logo, symbolism, branding, color use, color patterns that span multiple countries, that have these large budgets that dwarf countries, that employee numbers that dwarf countries. This is recognizable traits of global power, and they are not limited to any geographical area. These megalithic corporations, I think, have began to embody the essence or spirit of a corruptive, larger-than-life being. They keep us stuck in this earth energy because they need us here. They need us to burn out. They need us to not ascend. They want to keep us in non-ascendance. They want to keep us in this materialistic sense so that they can use us as resource. Is that the type of being that you would give up your life for? That you would give up your family for? You would give up your time for? Some of the scary parts of this is these giant corporations. Now, to give you a example before I get into that part of it, if you are a business that hires less than 500 people, so in other words, let's say you own a factory, and let's say that factory produces large amounts of product and sends it all over the world. If you have less than 500 employees, would you like to know the name of the category that you fall under in your taxes? It is called a disregarded entity. So if you hire less than 500 people, if you employ less than 500 people, the government considers you a disregarded entity. In other words, chump change. So these larger companies, these megalithic companies, these identifiable companies, they have this still, most businesses have an EIN number. An EIN number is the way you file taxes. It matches your social security number when you file personal taxes. It actually has the same amount of numbers as your social security number as well. So that's kind of funny. So these megalithic corporations that are not headed by anybody with a moral standard, it's defaulted to make decisions that benefit itself. The energy of greed being multiplied and towered. And the government recognizes that thing as an entity because it pays taxes. That entity now has rights. Let me end on this. Instead of favoring an economy or favoring businesses or favoring corporations that leave us in a setting where a multiple income family is necessary to survive. You know, after the Great Depression, even before the Great Depression. When a man would go out and have a job that could support his whole family, buy his house, and be taken care of at the end of his life, that was fair compensation. And I'm not saying that both people in households can't, both heads of household can't work. I actually do advocate, if do what makes you happy. And if working and doing things will make you, doing that kind of stuff that's going to make you happy, by all means, please do it. What I'm trying to get at is, if both sides of the house are going to work anyway, then 2 part-time employees can equal 1 full-time employee, and there's no real reason CEOs are giving up 1 month's salary to keep a factory full of people employed. There's no reason that should be a thing. There's no reason that poverty should exist because of that fact right there. We should move and rally to narrow the gap between the top levels, stockholders, CEOs, and the bottom levels of the working class. I am not necessarily advocating to raise minimum wage, because minimum wage is designed to an introduction to the workforce. Minimum wage is just to make sure that you're not getting ripped off for your time, or you're not being taken advantage of by these companies. That's what minimum wage was designed for. I'm not going to say I haven't been stuck working minimum wage jobs to make ends meet, because I have. And it's a horrible feeling. But raising the minimum wage to be a livable salary for somebody who is in the middle of their career life isn't fairly compensating them or the people that are getting just hired on for that same price. And what ends up happening is automation takes over, and we end up losing the minimum wage jobs anyway, the ample jobs, the jobs that if you needed an extra job, you can go get it. We lose that altogether. That's gone. Guys, as soon as they started demanding minimum wage, McDonald's put ordering machines in their lobby. The level of AI and technology that we have is going to make a lot of jobs obsolete if we push to raise minimum wage. What we should instead be pushing towards is advocating of closing the gap between the top levels of the company and the bottom levels of the company. Because when somebody's making a $1 million bonus, does that really seem fair to you? Well, everybody, thank you for joining me on this journey. I have been your host, Papa Magh, reminding you that take that time off, man. You deserve it.